Hey, it's Kevin with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode today. And on today's episode, I am going to be joined by Summitt Hogue. He is the managing partner at Growe 3PL Real Estate. And when it comes to real estate for 3PLs, he's the guy, basically, right? So he's got a very,
I love it, man.
very interesting business model on how he operates, and we'll talk a little bit about that today. But we'll also get his take on kind of the current real estate market as we're recording this year at the end of 2025 and what he's seeing as we're heading into 2026 as well, specifically for 3PLs and what they should be looking out for out there. So, Summitt, welcome on the show. How are you, sir?
Man, thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure, man. I love tuning into the podcast and hearing all the people you have on, and I'm just excited to be on today. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. Happy to get you on, for sure. And I think overdue. We haven't had you on before, but we've
I
known each
know,
other
I
for a
know.
while. So apologies on my end. We should have got you on sooner. But we got you
All
now,
good.
right? So for people that aren't familiar with you or with Grow, tell us like what is Grow? What are you guys all about?
Yeah, so Grow is a commercial real estate firm that's hyper focused on managing the real estate portfolios for mid market, growth minded warehousing and fulfillment operators. So think like the guys that have from 1 to 25 locations, not
Sure.
the XPOs and the Geodes's of the world, but the guys that the family owned 3PLs, the private equity backed 3PLs,
Mm.
those guys that typically get looked right past by the big real estate firms because they're not quite big enough. Those are really our sweet spot because our business has been built on providing just an immense level of value to those guys because we want to be way more than just a real estate guy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I, it's funny when I talk to new 3PLs and they're like, I say, "Who's your broker?" And they go, let me go look him up."
Mm.
They can't even remember the guy's name,
Yeah.
or they use different guys in different markets, and that's just not a partnership, right? Like that's just a vendor. You know what I mean? That's a transactional vendor, and that is not what we do.
Mm.
So we we get so involved in our client's business as sort of a full on consultant because we don't do anything else. We just work with 3PLs. We just
Yeah.
manage their real estate. So when we do that, we can double down on sourcing new customers for them. I mean, we're cold calling and finding shippers looking for 3PLs so that we can bring them business. Because at the end of the day, if I can bring you business and help you fill up your building,
Yeah.
then I can cause you to need more space. And you don't pay me for that at all. You don't pay me for any of it.
Yeah.
So the 3PL sits there and they go, wait a second. Okay, so you're going to bring me customers.
Mm.
You're going to help me find the cheapest racking. You're going to help me find a new general manager, for one of my locations where the guy, had to quit and move out, right?
Yeah.
Um, or I'm opening up on a West Coast facility and I need a partner out there for now, and then I'm going to open a building. Well, we can help you find partners. We can help you find customers. We can help you find. Honestly, it's kind of one of those things, man. Just throw it at us and we will figure it out, right? If we don't know the answer, we know who does know the answer and we'll go get it done, right? And it really forms a really like a true partnership between us and our clients because we sort of feel like your chief growth officer that you never have to pay. And we're problem solvers. That's what we do, right? There's not real estate deals to happen every single day, but when they do happen, we want to be your guys. And when we do that, that's where we really shine. But in the meantime, we take that time to solve any problem that we can. I mean, we want to be a partner. We want to be talking to you weekly. We want to be flying out and going to dinner and spending time in your warehouse and helping you figure out how to solve problems. And that's what we want to do. So
Yeah.
um, every other real estate company out there, they're all geography focused,
Mm.
and so for a national account like that, they can't get as deep in the weeds as we can because they're trying to sell somebody some land. They're trying to help a developer lease a building. They're trying to do an iOS deal. They're trying to do all these different kinds of deals in their local geography. Well, the challenge with that is they can't they don't have time to get in the weeds to understand your business and learn all the ins and outs of your P&L. What's impacting top line and bottom line? How do we optimize, what WMS should we select for the type of operation that we have? How should we set up our warehouse? where do I, you know what I mean? We can get in the weeds there to really add that level of value that no other broker can. So
Yeah.
um, that's what makes us really unique in that specific space.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, I see you guys, and I've known you for a little while, and obviously see how connected you are in the industry, and I think that approach to the model is such a great approach because you become like this. I mean, truly like a partner in a sense, right? To be able to help
Yeah,
them through their growth and it's a win-win, right? When you help them
yeah,
grow their business, right, then they need more space, and you're the guy, right? So very smart to approach that. I'm curious, like, and I've heard a little bit about kind of like your background and the story and how you got to start Grow, but I'm curious, like, where does your knowledge on the warehouse side come from? Like, how did you develop this knowledge, and how did you get to a point where, like, okay, you're like, yeah, we can help you do this, or we know what you need for the next step, and those types of things? How
yeah.
did you build that up?
No, great question. So I grew up on a cotton farm
Mm.
in West Texas. I went to Texas Tech, and I thought I'm going to be a farmer. That's what I'm going
Yeah.
to do. And my dad's a farmer. My grandpa's farm. Like, we've been farming the same land for over 100 years.
Mm.
So that's what I thought I was going to do. And my dad basically, when I graduated, I have an older brother, and he's farming. The cotton price stayed the same for 30 years, and the price to
Sure.
produce cotton has gone up
Yeah.
10x. So that business is tough, right?
Mm.
So my dad's going, hey man, look, I can't support you and your brother getting going in farming, so you got to go do something else.
Mm.
So um, graduated with a viticulture degree from Texas Tech, study of wine grapes. So if you want to talk wine grapes, I can talk your ear off about it. Doesn't do anything for me in today's world,
Sure.
but that's okay. But what I learned from that was, I got to go figure it out. You know what I mean? So I had to just pack up a Penske truck and drive to the nearest city, which was Dallas, and just start swinging. So I got
Yeah.
into commercial real estate, and it was, hey bud, here's a desk phone computer. Get out there and go. Just go pound the streets and find deals in your market, your little geography,
Yeah.
right? The standard commercial real estate way. But what I realized was, like, man, I'm walking in these guys' buildings trying to win their business, and I don't know anything about their business. I can't talk about their business. All I can talk about is the real estate market here. So I'm just a vendor to them, right? And I hated that. And I'd also run into, like, hey man, I've been working with the same broker for 30 years, and
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
longer than you've been alive. So let's, no chance, bud.
Yeah.
So I had to get creative and figure out a new way. So I locked in on the 3PL space and decided, you know what, I'm gonna teach myself this industry. So um, really, the way that I did it over the years was just um, understanding what every vendor to a 3PL does, and getting in the weeds with them about what problems they solve, how they solve them, why they're better than their competitors, and then getting in the weeds with them so that when I talk to a 3PL and they bring up a problem, I've already talked to somebody that can solve it. So
Mm.
I set up a lot of those meetings, and then that's like it took years and years and years to get where we are today, obviously. But but yeah, that's really where it came from, man. It was just ground and pound and finding synergy in the market and putting it together and listening to the conversations where, this guy I brought on the call is solving a problem for that guy, and understanding why and how, um, and that's really how I learned the business itself. But I've been doing it for 10 years now, so I mean, gosh, it's a small industry too. So
Yeah.
there's at this point, there's not many new things, that I haven't seen or talked to, or problems I haven't solved for one guy that I learned, or I saw somebody make a big mistake that I can help another guy avoid, those kinds of
Mm.
things. um, so it's sort of evolved into this full throttle consulting business by just being in it and just finding ways to find synergy and solve problems over the years, and that's really where it came from.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. And I love that. I mean, I love that kind of just digging in and exploration of trying to figure out, like, what are the potential problems, and how do I learn from, this 3PL, and then apply that to a new 3PL I want to work with, and all these different
Yeah,
things. And I think it's great to
man, my
see
calendar
that.
would
Yeah.
blow your mind. Like, for the last 10 years, the calendar has just been like, I'll never forget looking at my calendar after the first year and there being nothing, just still
Mm.
just not having anything, right? I go to work and I'm like trying to figure out. It's 100% commission too, so you
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
make any money unless you're getting things done. And man, it's deflating when you look at your calendar. You don't see anything on it. So I started going, you know what? I am going to fill up my calendar every day and just try to set as many meetings with everybody under the sun that will talk to me. And man, doing that for 10 years now, you can learn a whole heck of a
Yeah.
lot from a lot of good people that serve this industry from so many different angles. And that's been a real special piece of how we've been able to mold the business to be as valuable as possible to every client that we come in contact with in our specific niche.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's such a great thing because there's so many people in the industry that have spent so much time and they have so much knowledge, and I've found are super willing to share, right? And it's just about taking the
Yeah.
time to talk to them and have a conversation with them. So really interesting there. So you mentioned there, like, learning from mistakes that you've seen, right, to help others avoid those mistakes. So I'm curious, like, what is the most maybe common mistake that you see 3PLs make?
Man, one of the mistakes that I've seen a lot of fulfillment companies make, or B2B guys that
Hmm.
want to become fulfillment companies, that's a big jump, right?
Yeah,
And it's a completely different business. It's a completely different operation. Um, having 10 forklift operators and slinging thousands of pallets around is good business, but when you try to start allocating space for fulfillment and you start looking at high SKU counts, you start looking at thousands, and like now in today's world with influencers dropping 4,000
yeah.
orders on you in one day, and you got to figure, like, you know what I mean, there's so many moving parts in fulfillment. So one of the things I've seen as a big mistake is guys that start moving into fulfillment, they they bill customers monthly on a lot of their shipping.
Mm,
And what happens is, like, when you ship UPS, FedEx, like, you have to pay UPS and FedEx like now.
yeah.
But then you just accumulate all this money over time, all this um, on their account, and then you bill them at the end of the month. Well, if they slow pay you
Mm,
or don't pay you, now you just became a factoring company for this brand, and you got to pay your bills. You got to pay UPS and FedEx, or they'll stop picking up from your building, right? So I've
yeah.
seen a lot of guys who are billing every 30 days, and then they get a couple customers go out of business, and then all of a sudden you look up and they're like, "Wait a second, we owe UPS and FedEx like $100,000, and we didn't get paid. So
Mm,
what do we do?" Right? And then all of a sudden UPS goes, "Not picking up anymore," and that hurts all of your other
yeah.
customers, and bam, you're in a jam, right? So that's been one of those big things that if I see, I always ask new fulfillment clients or guys that want to get into it, like, how are you handling your billing for shipping? And I always encourage them, man, do it almost daily. Like, I got some guys that have credit cards on file and they bill them daily.
Mm,
And then other guys are like, oh, that's a little aggressive, so I do it weekly.
yeah.
But you cannot do it monthly. You got to bill them. You got to bill the customer and make them pay you so you can pay UPS and FedEx. Otherwise, again, you become a factoring company with zero upside and a ton of risk.
Yeah, yeah, that's great advice, definitely, because I think it is such a it is an interesting thing, and I hear a lot of stories like that too, right? Where it's like we have somebody, they didn't pay last month, and should we stop shipping or should we not? Because they're saying
Yeah,
they are going to pay, but then it's like, when do you
yeah.
kind of draw the line? But I like that, like, billing faster, right? To stay on top of it, and certainly, like, tapping into that credit card on file, right? To be able to do
And
that.
watch your labor, man. I
Yeah.
think I've seen a lot of guys do this too, where they threw labor at high volumes, and then they get to the end of the day and they're starting to run the numbers, and they realize we lost money because we spent so much on labor and we weren't billing enough, and we fulfilled 80,000 orders last month, and we lost money because
Hmm.
they just the engineering of your pricing model is wildly different from fulfillment to B2B basic warehousing, right? Like, you really got to understand every second of time that somebody's going to spend doing a specific thing, and then how to build properly for that. You know what I mean? And I've seen guys kind of use a rate card and just throw a rate card at it and kind of go, yeah, this is what our rates, this is what we do.
Yeah.
And then they either lose a client because they were wildly overpriced because they didn't get in, they didn't understand, hey, there's, you know, 80% of these orders are 5 SKUs. Okay. You could have optimized your operation and you could have given them this price, because if you've got if you've got people and you've got an operation that's really smooth, and it's the vast majority of orders are from a very specific, group of SKUs, then you can set up your operation where you could actually do it for significantly cheaper than what you've put in your pricing, which is why you lost the deal.
Mm.
And you could justify 50 cents a pick. You could justify some of these low numbers if you just engineered your pricing right for each deal. And then there's other deals where you threw a rate card at it and you realized, again, like we're losing money on this because we didn't really properly engineer. And it's crazy is that every single shipper, every single brand in their operation is so different because the SKUs are different.
Yeah.
They could be different sizes. There could be way more of them. There could be so many different moving parts. Like, you really need to sit down with every single customer, get the data, digest the data, and price it properly. You can't just throw rate cards at everything. And I see a lot of guys do that, where they tried to streamline the process because they didn't have enough money to have engineers in house or
Mm.
somebody in house they pay enough money to that can really sit down and engineer the proper pricing model for each customer. So they just start throwing rate cards and then try to get volume to just justify it. And a lot of times that ends up with getting to the end of the month going, crap, we
Yeah.
lost
We
money.
lost money. Yeah. 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 Which I mean, I've heard before too. I mean, I think it's crazy. Like you have like this huge amount of volume and you're like, oh man, that's awesome. Right. And then you like look at the numbers actually and you're like, wait, we're like, this is like our highest volume customer, but we're like losing money on it. Like, it doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense. Right. And we just did a recent podcast with the team from Barrett on 3PL pricing and stuff. So
Yeah.
so definitely interesting to dive into that. But let's talk a little bit about real estate, right? So what's going on right now, like in the real estate market at the end of 2025 and
Man.
in the 26?
So in 24,
Mm-hmm.
everybody was going, oh man, all this uncertainty's killing us with the election, the election, the election. Survive to 25. I heard a lot of guys say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
25 is going to be the year. Well, 25 rolls around, start throwing tariffs on
Yeah.
everybody, and bam, I think it's very necessary to do what we're doing in that regard, but the impact has been pretty significant. So it's been a really tough year in the warehousing game,
Mm.
especially transportation, but um, and that directly impacts real estate, obviously.
Yeah.
So the other factors for real estate have been, a lot of guys, when vacancy compresses, they just start building left and right and left and right. Right, they're building space all over the place.
Mm.
And one of the things that we ran into is a lot of guys built on this false sense of demand from COVID. They delivered buildings in 23, 22, 23, and then demand starts falling off.
Yeah.
Well, what also happened in that point in time was interest rates skyrocketed. So um, a lot of landlords got cooked because they just had wildly expensive debt and no demand, and they had to fire sell buildings or give them back to a bank.
Mm.
Um, and then in today's world, um, there's a ton of empty space, man. It's all over the
Really?
place. This
Yeah.
year was the wildest. 2025 is going to go down as a record books for us of just some of the wildest deals that we've ever gotten done and ever
Mm.
seen. I just did one in Kansas City where we got these guys 20 months of free rent
20 months.
at
Wow.
it was a 10-year lease, but we got them 20 months of free rent
Yeah.
at $3.70 a foot net, which is crazy low.
Wow.
Like, that's the cheapest deal that I've even heard of, right?
Yeah.
And one of the best. And on top of that, we helped them win some customers they're putting in the space too. So these guys are sitting there going, dude, for the next almost 2 years, it's just, and they're moving another building that was expiring into that space. So I mean, it's cash flow straight to the bottom line.
Yeah.
So those guys, they're going to do really well. And so in today's market, I think right now what we're seeing is a glut of space. 2025 has been a glut of space everywhere. Subleases everywhere. I mean, we've been able to get some wild deals. But 2026, I think, is the year that we really start to turn the corner, where it starts to pivot back to a landlord market in the back half of 26. If you look at the Prologis earnings call, they were saying, hey, Q4 26, early 27 is when we think it's really going to crank up again.
Yeah.
But they adjusted all their numbers on their last earnings call and moved it up. And now they're saying, hey, it's 26 is going to be a big year. So we're in this weird window right now where there's still a glut of space, but activity has really picked up across the whole country. You talk to brokers from Miami, New York, New
Mm.
Jersey, all the way to LA and Houston. I mean, there's the demand is picking up. The deals haven't inked yet, but the activity is there. They're trading paper on a lot of deals. So what that means is, as those start getting inked, um, guys start signing these buildings, then you're going to start seeing absorption increase, vacancy decrease, and then landlords are going to start pushing rents again.
Yeah.
But there's this window of time where you have landlords that have been sitting for 2 years on buildings and they are starving
Mm-hmm.
for a deal. So we're still going into these markets and we're swinging as heavy of a hammer as we can and trying to lock in as many. And honestly, we're encouraging our guys, like, now is the time to sign a long-term lease.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're confident in that market, you know you're going to be there. It's a core market. Go as long as you can. And the reason for that is because if you sign a long-term lease today and we can go get you 18, 20 months of free rent, by the time you even start paying rent on a building like that, rents are going to have started climbing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then your competitors are going to be signing leases with rents that are climbing, and you're locked in at those rates after all that free rent, and you're going to be set up really, really well. But the window is now. The window is Q1, Q2 of 26, and then I think it starts to squeeze.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
So as I'm talking to our 3PL clients, I'm like, listen, what markets do you have your eye on? And we need to go, we need to get out there and we need to get some options on the table and we need to get ready to pull the trigger. And one of our clients right now, I mean, they said, man, Houston, that's a market we want to be in.
Mm.
And so I said, look, guys, you need to start hammering your marketing and pushing down for Houston. Talk to your customers. Like, now is the time to open in Houston. And we have the craziest deal teed up for these guys. It's not done yet, but they're in a position now where they're going to be able to get into Houston in a piece of a 1,000,000-foot building
Mm.
with all the room in the world to grow, and just basically you have this long runway under one roof that you can just sell into, starting in a piece of it, and then a long runway on the deal structure itself too. So they're going to be sitting there going, all right, they actually got a ton of demand now. So it's like, once we sign this lease and they start pumping some of these customers in there and start marketing heavily with their operation fully running, I mean, they've got the opportunity to sell into 1,000,000 square feet under one
Yeah.
roof and undercut the market and be in a really good position for a very, very long time in a core market like Houston. So just an example of how we're coaching some of our guys to capitalize and take advantage of what the market is doing today.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's really interesting to hear that window of opportunity. So obviously, for 3PLs that want to expand or move into a larger building, like, now is the time to strike. It sounds like. What about from somebody that maybe wants to start a 3PL? Like, would you say, because of the real estate opportunity right now, is it a good time to start a 3PL?
I would say there's just so much opportunity to buy some failing 3PLs right now that I
Mm,
would
okay.
I would go that route first. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that have just been fighting tooth and nail, but they've just been hit over the last 12, 18 months.
Mm,
And I've got quite a few guys that are like, man, if somebody would just want to come buy this, I'd be willing to let it go.
yeah.
Um, I would say best case scenario in that situation would be find one of those guys and structure an earn out or something and take over an existing operation with some fresh capital and some fresh eyes, and get ready for 2026,
Yeah.
because I think it's going to be a really big year.
Yeah.
Starting one from scratch, I mean, it's definitely doable, and you can find a landlord that'll take a shot on you today. But you would expedite the process big time if you just found one of those guys that was wanting to walk away, and you could inherit that infrastructure and just plug and play and be off to the races.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, interesting. Good advice there, and I think it's interesting too. And so over the last, you mentioned like they kind of been fighting a little bit over the last 12, 18 months. Like, what is kind of where you see these 3PLs struggling? Like, what is really the challenge for them? Like, what are you seeing?
They got to pay rent.
Yeah,
Customers that aren't paying on time.
mm,
Everybody's been hit by tariffs, right?
yeah,
So a lot of these guys are going, man, we anticipated our customers, having their normal volumes, their normal inbounds, getting ready for peak season, and well, debt's expensive, so they didn't buy as much. They didn't place as big of a purchase order, and on top of that, adding tariffs on top, they couldn't afford to buy as much, so they didn't bring in as much, and then now all of a sudden, we've got 40% of our warehouse that was supposed to be full that's not, and then you throw in guys are late on paying. Well, you
yeah,
can't be late paying rent. So you got to pay rent, you got to pay your people. And when they slow pay you, then you get in a jam. And when that happens month over month over month over month, then you look up and you're upside down. And I think that's what happened to quite a few guys out there.
yeah,
We've had to restructure some deals with landlords where they got some free rent and extended the term. And, landlords don't want to see you go out of business either, because then they don't get anything. You know what I mean? Because the market's not there. They're
yeah,
not going to just get it released immediately. There's not enough demand. So, we've been helping a lot of guys restructure their deals just to keep going. You know what I mean?
mm,
And not every landlord's receptive to that, but we've seen quite a few that just said, "Hey, look, I'd rather have some money than no money. I mean, I don't want to see this tenant go out of business because that hurts the entire market here,
sure,
whatever city that is, right? So they want to try to help you, but you got to have the right representation to go create the story and structure the deal that's advantageous for both sides to actually get the landlord to do it for you.
mm,
Um, but yeah, that's part of what's been tough. I mean, you start doing that month over month. You can live with that and let it lines of credit. You can live that way for a little bit, but
yeah.
when you start slamming a 2025 election year with a tariff frenzy in back to back years, I mean, a lot of guys just can't make it through that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Interesting to hear, and from like a markets perspective, like, but what are the kind of hot markets right now that people are looking at?
Houston's exploding, man.
Yeah,
Houston's going to be a really big market. Dallas is seeing a big uptick in demand. A lot of landlord or a lot of folks. I mean, there's just so many people moving to Texas in general, but
yeah,
Texas is just such a business friendly state. It's centrally located. The port of Houston is becoming a much bigger port because people have diverted where they're manufacturing everything.
sure,
So a lot of that's moving to South America. A lot of that's moving to just different parts of the world. So that we're less reliant on China, thank the Lord. And but that's really hurt LA big time.
hmm,
Like the reason the Inland Empire was as big and strong as it's always been
yeah,
was just purely because of China. And
yeah. So
so
much volume coming in there. Yeah,
now I think you're seeing that market just get hit. People are in leases out there where they're paying. Gosh, I know some guys that are paying like $2 a foot a month for a 400,000 square foot building, and I could go get that building today for 90 cents.
wow. Okay.
So they're just vastly over market, and when a customer is coming to you going, "Hey, give me some pricing," and you pricing it off $2 a foot, and there's a guy down the street who got it at 80 cents, 90 cents, you're just not
Yeah,
winning that
yeah. You
deal.
can't compete. Yeah, yeah. Interesting. And do you think there's any you think there's any market that is a little untapped at this point that people should like have on their radar?
That's a good question. An untapped market, I would say. I mean, Kansas City is a great central location, and it is cheap.
Yeah,
So I tell guys all the time, like, man, if you're just looking for a good central location, obviously Dallas has more lanes, and Dallas is a great market, but I think Kansas City gets slept on a lot.
mm,
I mean, people just kind of look right past it, but I mean, it's the most central location you can get. Great labor through there, tons of good opportunity there for guys to grow. I mean, some of our biggest clients are headquartered there, so they just keep doubling and doubling. I mean, they just, 'cause, 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 'cause they keep growing in that central location. So I think Kansas City is a market a lot of people should be focused on.
Yeah, interesting. And I see a lot of big brands with their own operations out there too. Like I think Gap's got a huge one
Yeah.
out there, Urban Outfitters too, and stuff like that. So very interesting. So really interesting to talk to you here today, Summitt, and kind of tap into your knowledge around the 3PL space and the real estate market as well. I guess as we're heading into the new year, if you had to give your 3PL or any 3PL listening out there like one piece of advice for 2026, something like they absolutely must do, what would that be?
Man, I would say um, if you're thinking about expanding, do it now. Lock it in. Go whatever market that is. Let's go take full advantage of the landlords being on their heels where they are today, um, and let's go lock in some space. And if you've got the demand, you've got, even if you just have one anchor customer, man, we can get you. And I tell you guys this all the time. Like, there's buildings that are 300,000 square feet we could go in and take a piece of for your anchor customer and have all the rights to the rest of the space. And it's just your team racing the listing brokers to try to sell into the rest of the space. That's a perfect case scenario because now you get to like, not, you're not going to see that very often, right? Like in today's world, you can get it, but there's going to come a time when landlords say, look, you have to take all 300 or you don't get it.
Mm.
But today they're like, dude, you can take 75, you can take 100 out of this building, and I'll give you the rights to expand bay by bay, be super flexible with you. Now's the time to go take advantage of those type of situations and get your operations going and expanding, because I think 2026 you're going to see a wild uptick in demand, and people are ready. They're so tired of the uncertainty. They've had 2 full years of pent up demand that it's just been held back and held back and held back. And it's time for that to be unleashed. There's a lot of capital that wants to flow in. There's a lot of demand that wants to get rolling. And I think 2026, you're going to see a lot of that get unleashed, and you need to be positioned properly to handle that, but also, take advantage of the window where the landlords are on their heels, man. That's one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give you, because that window is closing quickly.
Yeah, absolutely, and great advice there. So listen to the man, listen to the Summitt. Make sure you take advantage right now before it's too late. And really appreciate you coming on and talking with me. If people want to connect with you or learn more about Growe, what's the best way to do that?
Man, I'm easy to find. I think I'm the only Summitt out there, so you can look me up on LinkedIn. You can look up Growe. It's growe-co.com, or my email is just Summitt Summitt at growe-co.com.
All right, fantastic. And we'll put all that information at thenewwarehouse.com as well as in the show notes here. So, Summitt, thank you once again for your time on the show today.
Thanks for having me on, man. Always a pleasure.
Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's video here on our YouTube channel, The New Warehouse Podcast, and I appreciate you tuning in. If you liked what you saw, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and if you like this video in particular, make sure you like it as well. And if you want to get this great t-shirt that you see in the video behind me, Warehouses Are Sexy, head to warehousesaresexy.com and get your own.